Thank you so much for tuning into the Lubbock Symphony's virtual concert series. In this unprecedented time, we're truly thankful for this innovative way to bring music to you at home. Thank you to our sponsors and to all the music lovers who have contributed to our symphony's Musician Relief Fund for helping make this concert possible. The Musician Relief Fund was established with a grant from the South Plains COVID-19 Response Fund to create innovative virtual work opportunities for the Lubbock Symphony musicians who are unable to perform in orchestra concerts right now, and to provide direct financial assistance to those with financial need. When you contribute to the Lubbock Symphony, whether through the annual fund or especially the Musician Relief Fund, you're helping keep the music alive in West Texas. I'm thankful for our musicians and my colleagues for stepping up to create these incredible new programs to share with the community at a time when we need music the most. Thank you so much once again. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Good evening and welcome to the Lubbock Symphony's virtual concert series. My name is Alyssa Wixson. I'm the president and CEO of the Lubbock Symphony. This is going to be a very interesting program this evening. I think you'll really enjoy the variety of selections we have. Before I get into the first work on the program, I just want to remind you that the virtual concert series is made possible by your contributions to the Musicians Relief Fund at the Lubbock Symphony. We have established this fund to help our musicians during this time of COVID. And all of your donations to the fund go directly to the musicians. So if you are so moved by what you hear this evening and you enjoy the performance, please consider a donation to the Lubbock Symphony. The link is on the screen, or you can go to our website, lubbocksymphony.org. Now, our first work of the evening is by a composer I know very well. She happens to be my daughter. Her name is Alyssa Wixson, and she has composed a work specifically for the Lubbock Symphony and this series, and this is our world premiere, and the work is called Oceania, and it's for flute and water basin. Alyssa has written an artist statement to sort of describe the inspiration for this, so I'm just going to read it to you. One of my favorite childhood memories is of playing in the water, whether a pool, lake, stream, bath, or the sea. Water was the ultimate plaything, full of possibilities that ranged from the mysterious to the whimsical. Oceanids, not only ancient Greek water spirits, but also mythical guardians of small children, combine these two images. This piece imagines the unself-conscious play of a nymph in the water, combining actual water noises in the percussion with reconstructed water noises in the flute, as though the nymph is noticing nature and playfully replicating it. She goes on to say, I would like to thank the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra for commissioning this work as part of their virtual concert series, and Susanna Self for bringing this piece to life with her expertise in artistry. And let me extend my thanks to both Alyssa and Susanna. I've seen the tape of the final work, and it is really, I just think, a beautiful piece of music. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So without further ado, Oceania by Alyssa Wixson. And welcome back to the Lubbock Symphony's virtual concert series. And I hope you enjoyed Oceania just as much as I did. I really thought that was a creative and enjoyable adventure that we had with the water and the flute. Our next work is performed by Susie Rockett. She is in the oboe section of the Lubbock Symphony and often stands in on the English horn as well when that instrument is required by the orchestra. Susie is going to perform a work by Vaughan Williams. His dates are 1872 to 1958, and this work, written in 1926, is the Six Studies in English Folk Song. These were originally written for cello and piano, and so what we'll hear tonight is an Adagio followed by an Andante sostenuto, then Larghetto, then Lento, then Andante tranquillo, and finally an Allegro vivace. These all have subtitles. I will let you read on the screen what those are while they play. This work by Williams, Susie gave me this statement, so I just want to read that to you. Williams wrote that his aim in setting the songs was that they be treated with love. Never straying from his English roots, he sought to organically weave elements of his native music into all his compositions, rather than imitate it. One of the earliest researchers in ethnomusicology started collecting songs in 1903. He traveled the British countryside recording and transcribing folk music directly from its source. So, thank you, Susie Rockett, for this performance of the Vaughan Williams Six Studies in English Folk Song. Well, welcome everyone, and back to our virtual concert series with the Lubbock Symphony. And tonight we are honored to have Dr. Kevin Wass of the Texas Tech University School of Music faculty. He is the tuba professor at Texas Tech, and most distinguished career. And we're so honored to have you, Kevin. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So we're hearing something a little unusual tonight, and I would say this group of pieces that we have lined up tonight is probably the most unusual we've heard yet. So what will you be performing for us?
So this is a work by the American composer Christian Wolff. It was written for solo tuba, and he just called it Tuba Song. Mm-hmm. It's one of two works that he wrote for solo tuba. This was his first one written in 1992. Mm-hmm. Christian Wolff's music is, he was a contemporary of John Cage, a younger contemporary, but he studied with John Cage and then spent time with that sort of downtown New York circle of composers, including Morton Feldman, Earl Brown, and then the early minimalists, Steve Reich and Philip Glass as well. Out of that, his music grew into this idea that music should be democratic and should move very slowly. And so this piece, the notation is pitches and durations, but there's no tempo marking, there are no bar markings, there are no articulations, there's no overall tempo, there's no metronome mark, anything like that. So it's up to the performer to make all those decisions.
And what are the challenges when you're doing that? I mean, if it's something that's quite so linear, if you will,
Yeah.
What are the challenges in trying to decide what to do?
It's a different aesthetic. We don't realize how much of the aesthetic that we use as performers is determined by the composer, and so. What Christian Wolff is doing is he's leaving those determinations up to the performer, but you know, as we learned in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. You can just play what's on the page and have the most boring thing that ever happened. Mm-hmm. And there is a philosophical idea that he had that every note should be an individual sound. That we shouldn't impose hierarchy on musical sound. But he also understood it was pointless, because as soon as you put two sounds together, the listener and the performer are both going to establish some sort of relationship. And so you'll hear me playing phrases at times, but sometimes those phrases don't go where you expect them to go. Okay. They just sort of end. And that's because he'll write a little mark in the music that says this phrase ends here. Oh. That's the only thing that he makes you do, is you do have to end your phrases and begin your phrases where he says, but where they go is completely up to you.
And what year is this composed?
1992.
92, so it's pretty recent. There's something else going on behind you. I've seen the recording once. So what else you got going on there?
Okay, so he offers in the performance instructions that instead of just doing this as a solo performer, you can actually have two people performing off of the exact same score and trying to sort of phase in and out with each other. So very much in the minimalist idea of people playing similar lines, but sometimes they're lining up and sometimes they aren't. And then he also offers the possibility that one performer could do this and just pre-record and then perform live with the recording, which is the way that I've been doing this piece lately. And then obviously in this case, I can't do anything live. So what I did is I did what we call a fixed audio recording. I sat down on Saturday and did that, just recorded audio. And then that's playing, and then I'm also playing live as I'm recording the video. In addition to that, there's a visual element. I've worked with this piece into visuals since the second time I performed it. I was hired to do a performance at Ota Gallery in Santa Fe by the artist who owned it, and she and I just got to talking one day and about me doing something there as a musician, and she asked me to choose a theme, which I chose reflection. I was thinking about that word a lot at the time, and I was actually learning this Christian Wolff piece at the time and loved the idea of reflection in it. And so she chose art that incorporated that. She had a lot of symmetry, and she works in multimedia, so she had some actual like metallic things in there that would reflect. But then she also took me into the room in the gallery where I'd be performing, and she started pointing out where there were speakers hidden in the room, and she showed me the sound system. And that was the first time where I thought, I really need to do this with a pre-recorded version.
Oh, okay.
And the people who were in the space looking at this art that had embodied all these different ideas about reflection were so moved. And then they got so involved with trying to figure out when I was playing versus the recording. They just couldn't tell which was the live sound, which was the recorded sound. And it was sort of unsettling, but they said also at the same time, it really they felt like they engaged with what they were seeing.
Yeah.
So I got hired to do this piece again at another venue in Albuquerque this time. They wanted multimedia. So I put together a slideshow of some of my own photography. Some of this is landscape photography, some of it's architecture, sculpture. But every image in here has an element of reflection. So there's a reflecting surface, and there's something being reflected within that.
Now, I know you spend a lot of time in New Mexico skiing and doing other activities. Are a lot of the photographs in New Mexico?
Yeah, there are many from New Mexico. There are many from Banff National Park in Canada.
Oh, nice.
Place I spend a lot of time. And actually, where I first encountered Christian Wolff's music while I was doing a residency at the Banff Center.
Nice.
There's many from Colorado. There's actually one here that's actually backstage at the Santa Fe Opera while I was playing in the orchestra there. There's a sunset after a thunderstorm with all the concrete reflecting the sunset. Okay. So even wet concrete is another reflecting surface that maybe we don't always think about. But most of these are traditional landscapes. You got water, you got a reflection.
Right. This was so valuable because you play a piece like that cold and you don't explain what's going on behind it, and people are just kind of bewildered. And so I think I know this will help sort of ground people and get them sort of a starter for what's going on. So thank you so much for your time and talking with me. So we'll hear now Christian Wolff's Tuba Song performed by Kevin Wass. Thank you, Kevin, so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Talk to you soon.